Hello and welcome to today's video. In front of you today I have two fountain pens, both from Wingsung, or as it's more commonly going to be known now, Junlai. And these are the 630 and the 930 fountain pens. These are both big pens. To put them into some context, here is a Lamy Safari, which is also not a small pen, coming in at 140 millimeters. So these are much larger pens, and you can see reviews of both of these on my channel. What I thought I would do today is just talk about which one I prefer and why. So, basically, the 630 was introduced first, and it is very much modeled off the Montblanc 149. It's got the same general sort of shape and proportions, and the same sort of gold trim and all that kind of stuff, and a nib that is roughly the same sort of size, around that number 8 sort of size nib. It is a piston filler. It has the same sort of, okay, you can't quite see it while it's inked, but same ink windows. It's a very similar scale pen, but at a 20th the price. Then they introduced the 930, which is even bigger and has a whopping number 9 nib on it. Let's put these nibs quickly into some context. So here we have a standard Yovo number 6 on the Asvine J16, the number 8 on the Wingsung 630, and the number 9 on the Wingsung or Junlai 930. The 930 and the 630 are both very similarly styled, and I got the 930 here in the silver trim or chrome trim as opposed to the gold trim on the 630. Now, I will also be making a video about my feelings about the different nib sizes, 6, 8 and 9 primarily, which I will be uploading shortly as well. But you can see they are similarly styled pens, and both were also introduced with a flat top version. So here is my flat top version of the 630. I got it with a transparent body so I could see the piston filling mechanism in there. Same sort of nib, beautiful pen. I really like the flat top. In fact, I prefer the flat top version of both of these pens, flat top just being a little bit more my aesthetic, if you will. I like black pens, I like flat top pens, so these really hit that mark. But if I had to, sort of talk about these two pens and which one I prefer, it will come down to a number of factors. Firstly, which nib do I prefer in terms of how it writes on the page, and also, the size and the ergonomics of that nib. And then it would also come down to the feel in the hand and the balance in the hand. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm going to focus on the round top versions, not the flat top in this video. So the round top version of the 630. This feels very nice in the hand. Obviously, Montblanc have created a pen that is ergonomic and well designed, and Wingsung have capitalized on that by basically stealing the dimensions. And they've done a lovely job of it. It's a beautifully made pen. When I first reviewed this, I was very positive about the pen, and I still am. I think it's a wonderful pen, and it writes absolutely beautifully. So that was me lifting it off the page slightly. The Wingsung 630 with a medium nib, and the ink is Montblanc Mystery Black. This pen writes really well. I enjoy it a lot. It's not the wettest pen in my collection, but I think, it's certainly wet enough for sort of good standard writing. It's really nice. You can see more about the writing experience with this pen in my full review, as you can with the 930, but it writes really beautifully. I think that number 8 size nib, it's comfortable, but it feels big. I start to feel like I'm moving away from the page in my writing. And I have to say that is obviously amplified with the number 9 size nib here on the 930. But if we just do a little writing sample with this nib, the Wingsung, or as I said, Junlai 930. And this is also a medium nib, but you can see the mediums are quite different. And the ink in this is also a Mont Blanc Irish green. One of the great green inks of all time, in my opinion. Just an absolute stunner. Now, this one is an interesting writer. You can see it's still a little bit wet. This does have that problem of the leaking section, and it gets all over your fingers. But I do have the new part, the new section, or nib housing coming to rectify that. But what I like about this nib in particular is that it is ever so slightly architecty. Often with nibs, you get them to be they can tend to be a little bit stubby, like the Lamy 2000 nib, for instance, is a little bit on the stubby side, whereas this one's the opposite. It's got sort of narrower downstrokes and ever so slightly wider crossstrokes, which just gives your writing just a little bit of flavor occasionally, and I really enjoy that. So if I had to choose between these two pens, it's actually both a difficult decision and a fairly easy decision. If I'm talking about writing on the page, both write really beautifully. They both have something going for them. The smooth, very sort of nice, consistent line of the 630 nib versus my slightly architecty, interesting, colourful nib in the 930. Now, once that issue with the section is rectified, that's not going to be a problem, and that's not a problem at all on my broad nibbed flat top version of the pen. Never have ink leakage from that nib, which is fantastic. But in terms of the aesthetics of the pen, I do think the 930 is just a little bit ridiculous. It's big. It's like, you can't avoid how big that pen is, whereas the 630 is big, but not comically so. It's not noticeably huge. As I said, it's modeled off the 149 from Mont Blanc, which is a fantastically proportioned and beautifully constructed pen. So for me, as I said, if it's writing on the page, they've both got something going for them, which makes the decision hard. But in terms of the aesthetic, in terms of the ergonomics, I can't go past the 630. For me, this is a much more comfortable, easier pen to write with. It's like a lot of people saying that the M1000 from Pelikan is just too big, whereas the 800 is about perfect. Now, these are different proportioned to those two pens, but for me, this is where I go. I think the number 8 size nib is just a little bit more comfortable to write with on the page. I feel my hand fatiguing less, all of those kinds of things. So if you are interested in these pens, I hope this very sort of short side-by-side video today gives you a little bit of information that you might be able to take away to help you decide which pen you are interested in. And as I said, they all come in a flat top version. There's a few different colors, different trims, all that kind of stuff. So that is my experience with these pens. I will say both the flat top versions of these pens need a tune. I need to, they've both got a baby's bottom problem on the nib. So I need to go away and sort of just tune that out, but that won't take any effort and it's absolutely fine and they'll write beautifully. In fact, out of all of these, if I had to choose only one of them, I would actually go for the flat top 630. I think that's an absolutely stunning pen. It aligns it a little bit more with, say, the Pro Gear King of Pen from Sailor in terms of design, but I think it's absolutely wonderful. Of course, your mileage will vary with these pens. If you have them, if you've used them, you may have different feelings than I do. But I wanted to talk about my feelings today and about my experience with these pens. So it is my feelings and my experience. If you found this interesting and useful, I am really glad. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. It all helps the algorithm and helps me to continue to make these videos for you. Now, I will link to an AliExpress store in the description of this video. It's 365 Days Stationery, the real one. It is a great store, great customer service, all that kind of stuff. If you've got questions, they seem to know everything. So yeah, 365 Days Stationery. I'm not affiliated. I don't get any kickback or anything. Just a really great retailer where you can pick up pens like this at a pretty reasonable price. So enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.